Good evening, fans, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Reality. Tonight, I really want to discuss, and not only discuss, but celebrate those original three letters that I think at one time, truly meant something in, the world surrounding our industry. Those original three letters, I feel, really represented an alternative. Really represented an alternative to that major New York based promotion. Now, last night, those three original letters, TNA, they lived again. And we were presented with the Hard to Kill pay-per-view live premium spectacular. And, I just want to give my thoughts on it as somebody who remembers the original era of those three letters. Now, I'm not exactly going to review every match, every segment on the card. I'm just going to run through the moments on the card that really meant something to me. The moments that really had me emotional. And I feel the moments that most represented, those three original letters, TNA. When it comes to being a fan who not only has made a life of it when it comes to this industry, but a fan who remembers watching TNA. Now, the first match on the card that had me very emotional was the Digital Media Championship performance between Tommy Dreamer and this young dude now, Crazy Steve. Dreamer came out. And, as I watched the pay-per-view live, I couldn't help myself but say, thank you, Tommy. Thank you, for everything that you have given us. I'm a major original era Philadelphia Dreamer fan. Watched his New York run. I even seen him live, at one time doing his thing, brawling around the arena. I'm a major Dreamer fan. And you could even see the back of Dreamer's shirt. It said, "We're effing back." And, I was incredibly hot. But the match was great. And, Dreamer didn't hold back. He did a lot of that original era Philadelphia style again. And it was great to see. And this young dude now, Crazy Steve, he really held his weight in the match as well. Coming up with some very unique stuff. They did a lot of moves with the steel chair. They gave suplexes with the steel chair and the kendo stick. When he brought out that kendo stick onto Dreamer, I was really thinking about that history. Thank you, sir, may I have another. I thought maybe we would get something that would harken back to that spot. And then, something I don't think we've even seen in Philadelphia, this Crazy Steve character, I guess his signature weapon, is a fork that he uses. And he went underneath the ring and he grabbed a bag of forks and he poured them down Dreamer's shirt, goes to the corner of the ring and runs and flips, into Dreamer. It was unbelievable. It really was. It really was like a new chapter of something that they would have done in Philadelphia, but they're doing it now, under those new three original letters that represent the alternative. And it was great. It was a great match. And what surprised me is the young dude now, Crazy Steve, was the one who went over. It wasn't Dreamer. And, I wasn't angry about it. Because, it had me very emotional seeing Dreamer now put over a young dude who, has that original Philadelphia spirit. So, I was a big fan of the match, really enjoyed it, had me hot. great way to really get excited and to be reminded of the history because, as much as Dreamer represented Philadelphia, I think he also truly represents TNA. Next on the card, that I felt was significant was, the women's Destination Ultimate X match. And this truly was incredible. You want to talk about something that really brings you back to the absolute peak of TNA. Nothing is going to get you to those moments faster than an Ultimate X match. And, this time they did something different. They decided to go with the women stars, instead. And, I don't always agree with women or what they stand for in this industry, but I have to admit, I was absolutely impressed. A lot of great coordination, a lot of great spots, a lot of great stars that I had no idea existed. They were all different. They all had a different style, different look. And I think they did a great match. They did a great job representing the original history of that match, that Ultimate X match that was such a staple, for that major alternative, promotion that once was the alternative to New York. And that is one of the reasons why, they were such an alternative, because they were doing something different. So I give big props out to this match for, again, deciding to do something different. But also, again, celebrating the history and the legacy of those original 3 letters, and that promotion that represented an alternative. Next up, although I have a lot of good to say, I felt that this match was presented in very much that old school WCW TNA early years style. And, I'm going to get into it, but I do have a lot of good to say that I want to discuss openly here. Next we had this new star that I am not familiar with, PCO, and we'll talk more about him in a moment, versus the Dirty Dango. But unfortunately, that match was thrown out due to the disqualification. But then, this is where things really picked up. Another industry original came down to that ring. Not only a star that represents those original 3 letters at the peak of their height, but also, again, that Philadelphia history. It was Rhino. He came down, I was hot. I was brought back right to those peak years again. And the match was okay, but I really want to talk about this PCO talent. Very unique gimmick. He came out and had these doctors doing surgery, and they kind of reanimated him like he was a Frankenstein. And, it really got me thinking. His gimmick, his character, really took me back to the days of WCW versus NWO Revenge. And if you are a major, follower of those early video games that, were based on this industry, you'll remember original created wrestler on that game called Dr. Frank. And I very much felt that this PCO, was really a representative of that original character. And, it really took me back to the peak of my youth, playing that game. So very much enjoyed his presentation, and some of the moves that he was doing were unbelievable. When I first saw him, I thought he was going to be kind of like a Kane, very slow, very methodical, very powerhouse style. But no, he was doing moonsaults. He was front flipping to the outside of the ring. And, I could not believe it. And, the fans were chanting the letters, PCO, and they were only chanting those letters. They were chanting TNA. And I started getting very emotional because it took me back. That's what I think this pay-per-view tonight really did as an original era. And, a fan of those original Nashville years and those Orlando years, I was brought back. And seeing Rhino in the ring doing his thing was great. This was a great match. I don't have much to say about it, but I really enjoyed it. It really got the energy going. Featured two really great stars. This PCO guy is now a star that I'll definitely be, following, when I further continue to watch TNA now. And I'm looking forward to what he does next. Next on the card, I felt was something really, again, truly special. And I think it's something that not even New York, was able to do in its, long-standing presence in this industry. We had Chris Sabin, El de Vikingo, and Kashuda, doing the three-way match for the TNA X Division Championship. But the big surprise was that AAA now will be partnering. And AAA, is that major Mexican-based promotion, Lucha Libre promotion. They are going to be partnering now with TNA Wrestling. And, I was incredibly hot. I was saying, what? No way. Not even New York could come up with a partnership with that Mexican-based promotion. But here is the alternative now. Making that connection. Celebrating that history. Because if you look at New York and you look at Lucha Libre, it's so saturated now. You see the stars like Rey Mysterio. You see the stars like when they had Sin Cara. They have Kalisto. Like all those names, And the reality is, in New York, all that cruiserweight Lucha Libre has come down to in this day and age is mask sales. T-shirt sales. It has nothing that represents what that original cruiserweight Lucha Libre style really was, for its day. And this match, I felt, was absolutely a celebration of that wrestling style. And again, it was under that alternative promotion. And, it's like, look, that this is a style that we haven't seen on a major stage in a very long time. And it's coming back. And it's not coming back to WWE. It's not coming back to AEW. It's coming to TNA now. So, unbelievable partnership. The match was incredible. Chris Sabin, and Kushida, I think were really the standouts. I felt like it was 97 WCW again. Atlanta, first seeing those legends like Mysterio and Guerrero doing their thing and learning, about that Lucha Libre style. That's what this was. It was a celebration. And very happy for the partnership, and I'm hoping that in the future, it brings more talent to America that will teach me, more about Lucha Libre. The next match I want to talk briefly about is truly when I felt the show was sort of taking a downturn. And it was the Josh Alexander versus Alex Hammerstone match. Now, what I felt this really was, and when you get down to it, what I really think this match was a showcase. It was a showcase of the talent that, are to be top level contenders for that, alternative promotion now. But, I will say the in-ring work was good. But I don't know, something about the match. I mean, it was that, heavyweight brawl, big power move type match. But just with the energy and the excitement and the history that was celebrated, I kind of felt this is when the card sort of took a downturn. There were a couple really inventive spots, and I really am high, on this Alex Hammerstone character. He really reminds me of that, early to mid 2000s heavyweight style worker. But this Josh Alexander, I mean, all I'm seeing here is a star, that's trying to recreate Kurt Angle. And, Kurt Angle is so synonymous with that original three-letter base promotion that you can't do that. I mean, you cannot be doing those same moves. You can't, be doing the special signature moves that remind us of any of the past. Because the reality is that Kurt Angle isn't on the roster. So, not much of a fan of him. I thought the match was okay. Like, it wasn't horrible, but I really did feel it was sort of a point in the card where things really started to slow down. Next match I want to talk about was, that World Championship match on the card. You had Alex Shelley. Another major TNA original who I remember watching in their peak of that original run. And then you got Moose. Now, there was a lot of controversy surrounding Moose because, now allegedly, people on X were making me aware that he, allegedly now, these are only allegations that have been put forward to Pro Wrestling Reality, he's a woman abuser. That allegedly, a partner of his, accused him of cheating. And if I'm reading the report correct here, because I took the note here, that he pushed his partner down the stairs. Now, that is extremely troubling. And if it's true or not, if it is true, I could see why he isn't in one of the other major promotions, but here he is, on TNA representing the alternative. And him and Alex Shelley had a great match. It was something different. I really enjoyed the work rate in this match. But again, I mean, other than seeing an original, that I remember, in the tag team scene, back when I was watching that original era. Now in the world title picture, I mean, that's exciting, but other than that, the match was just subpar. I thought it was just subpar. It had been such an emotional night that I think this title match wasn't really built. It didn't have the big name value. It wasn't something that I think truly ended the pay-per-view on a major positive. But the next major moment absolutely ended this pay-per-view on a positive. TNA had been promising, a major surprise. The way they worded it, you won't believe who is showing up. And, there was a lot of speculation, even in my wrestling group. There was a lot of names thrown out. There was Cardona, there was Goldberg, there was AJ Styles, or somebody who represented TNA's past. There was a lot of speculation there. A lot of us thought it was going to be a disappointment. But for me personally, it really made me believe in TNA again. We got ex-WWE superstar Dolph Ziggler, now Nick Nemeth. He has crossed the line, and nothing, I tell you, had me more excited. Nothing had me more hot than the shot of Nemeth in the crowd, and he's got the TNA shirt on. This was a really significant moment. I think the issue with a company like AEW is they're not able to create moments. WWE has so many moments that, I'll be on my nursing home deathbed still thinking of, Shawn rappelling down to the WrestleMania ring. Those are moments, that stick with us, as fans who have made a life of it. And I truly feel that this debut was a moment, a TNA moment. And it really took me back, to the peak of those original years when anybody could show up. Remember how exciting it was when Kurt Angle made the debut? The arena, was shaking at its foundations. And, when Ziggler, Nemeth now, made that debut, I felt that same energy. I was taken, back to that original era. As a fan of this industry who has made a life of it, I have no life, no wife, no friends, no family, no hope. But during this pay-per-view, this TNA pay-per-view, I was reminded that what I do have is this industry.